Welcome to Green Dot Daily. I'm Maria Marino, live every weekday at 3 Eastern on the Action app. And if you're watching on YouTube, please subscribe to our channel. A lot to do today. MLB talk with Sean Zerillo, NBA picks and analysis with Matt Moore and Jay Money, plus a women's Final Four bet from Dano Mataya. But we start with some news out of the NFL. Per multiple reports, the Bills have traded Stefon Diggs and a pair of future draft picks to the Texans in exchange for a 2025 second rounder. As we say hello to our NFL betting expert, Simon Hunter. Simon, I'm looking at this and I'm a little confused. Like, why would the Bills do this? It seems like they're giving up their biggest offensive weapon. They're not getting a lot in return. What is your reaction to this?
Yeah, I think off just the get-go, people look at it and they're like, well, this is a bad trade for the Bills. They're losing draft capital that's not that great. Only getting a second round pick in return. Same thing that Claypool went through just a couple of years ago. And um, 30 million in dead cap money. It's a bad deal to the Bills. I think it's all off field. It must all be off field stuff because it just doesn't make sense in the football sense why they would move on from a guy who he's only 30 years old. Like he's going to be 31 next season. That's as good as it gets as an NFL receiver. Like at the same time, your body is still really great and athletic. Your mind is now at the right age where it's like, you know what defenses are going to do against you. And they are willing to move off all of that just because of whatever is going on off field with him. I know he's done some stuff on social media this off season. But just the way the season ended, where he just disappeared for the second half of the season, his personality and everything like that, I just don't think whatever it was, I honestly think this is a Josh Allen decision. Like they don't move him without Josh Allen's blessing because he's gone. Gabe Davis is gone. What are the Bills doing? I think this is a big deal. People are really questioning what this team is doing. They don't have the same luxury this Chiefs did with Travis Kelce. There is no Travis Kelce for them, right? When the Chiefs moved on from Tyreek Hill, they figured it out. I don't know if the same can be said about the Bills. So a really interesting move and a move that is going to affect them not just this season, but also next with the dead cap money.
Very curious. And that would lead you to believe that they have some other plans that they're going to have to be getting to down the road here throughout this offseason. But as it stands right now, would you consider betting on the Bills in any way from a future standpoint, or are you just going to not touch this?
No, I wouldn't touch it, especially the fact that they have a first place schedule. I already was going to knock them down, and we expect the Jets to be better than they were last year. Even New England, we expect to be a little better than they were last year. And Miami, we already know, is pretty good. So their division's tough. They have a first place schedule. Now they're down their number one, number two receiver from last season. It's tough. It's tough because it felt like last year Josh Allen had to be Superman just to get them into that 2 seed and do all the incredible stuff he did last year. Yeah, their win total is low. It's down to 10.5. It could drop to 10 off of this mood. It is a big deal. Like Josh Allen, he is an incredible player. He needs weapons at the end of the day. So yeah, it's a really negative move for this Bills team. But like you said, there might be another thing that we don't know they're going to do this offseason, or even the draft and address the wide receiver position.
All right, let's flip to the Texans side of this because I believe you were a bit skeptical of them just given a tougher 2024 schedule and perhaps the market overvaluing them. Now they got Stefon Diggs. Does this move the needle for you at all?
Yeah, it's a big deal. I think he's really good. And whatever happened with him and the Bills last year, as cancerous it was, I think that's just a long-term thing, right? It was something building over multiple years, where now it's kind of a new fresh start for him in Houston. And you hope he can not be kind of cancerous type he's been these last 2 seasons. So for the Houston side, I love it. The GM knows it's the NFL is very simple nowadays. It's if you have a quarterback on the rookie pay scale, you have to spend all the money you possibly can to try to make the team as good as you can before you have to pay him the second contract. And they're doing that. I mean, they saw how hard it is to get a quarterback that can hit, and they hit on one, and they won their division last year. And now they're just addressing all these needs. And even if the wide receiver position wasn't their biggest need, you never turn down an opportunity to go get someone like Stefon Diggs. Again, and in his prime like position of his career. So for me, I was skeptical of Houston, but I know tons of professionals who love them. They loved them before this move. Now they're just like saying about how smart they are because they're like, oh, we knew they were going to do some type of move. And I can't doubt them because it's like, you're right. Like their win total probably was too low. It opened at 9. A lot of books have it at 9.5 now. It could easily get up to 10. I know from a lot of bookmakers, this is one of the most bet over win totals of the season. So everyone's all in on it. And my job is to be a skeptic. That's just how it is as a professional. And I always said year 2, you do hope for big growth from these quarterbacks, but it's also a full year after teams had film to kind of figure out how to stop this quarterback. So we all expect CJ to take another step, but I wouldn't be shocked if they had kind of the same season they had last year, right? Win their division, win a playoff game, then lose to a superior team in Baltimore or Kansas City. So really love this move, though, because it is setting CJ up to be in the best position they could possibly put him in.
Okay, so the Texans are even turning Simon's head, and they already had the shortest odds to win the AFC South. Simon Hunter, thank you.
He's going to go on and on and on about the rest and how everybody's on back-to-back.
How dare you put words in his mouth?
They celebrated like they won a championship. I got to find some type of way to fade them.
LA nightlife is undefeated.
Call me a hater if you want. Blech.
Yeah, these guys are too soft, man. I keep saying it.
That's why it's true, because it makes me look smart.
It's time for more money with Matt Moore and Jay Money. Let's start with Joel Embiid. Made his return to the court after not being at shoot-around earlier in the day, but had 24 points in a win over the Thunder last night. Jay, what's the ceiling of this Sixers team now?
Oh, wait, I'm out. And then no, I'm gonna play. But no, I'm just messing with you guys. But the ceiling for it all depends on who they face in the first round, in my opinion. I still think that the Knicks match up really well with the Sixers. Like I said, it depends on who they face up against. Because if they go up against the Bucks, I do think that the Sixers can hang with the Bucks. But going up match up against the Celtics or the Knicks is a nightmare matchup for the Sixers, in my opinion. And how healthy or how long will Joel Embiid stay healthy? He falls on the floor like I've never seen anybody before. A lot of times he doesn't even have to fall on the floor. He's just really trying to sell the call, and that's really how he got injured the first time as well. So his health is always the biggest thing for them. Now Tyrese Maxey's a little banged up as well. They do have the depth. I like the trades that they made, but I mean their ceiling is still not too high. Like they're still not going to get past the Celtics, in my opinion.
I disagree. I think I wrote about this on Action Network. I've been on here talking about it. There was a great price point before Embiid came back when he started practicing. They were 40-1 to win the entire thing. And that is an absurd price. 20-1 to win the Eastern Conference in the market at one point, just last week. They have a very decent shot when you look at the schedules of making the 6th seed. And if they get the 6th seed, they get the Cavs. And then you have the Bucks, who might wind up facing the Heat. That's going to be unpleasant. So the Bucks go from the Heat to the Sixers. And if the Sixers take care of the Cavs, there might be time for Embiid to get healthier and healthier. Yes, the wear and tear matters, but guys the further they're removed from the procedure, they will get healthier. And Jay mentioned, he falls down selling that contact. Guess what? He got those calls last night. We're not seeing a differential in how they're officiating Embiid. He's still getting to the line. That's huge. This team also matches up great with Denver. I'm serious. They match up great with Denver. They are one of the few teams that I think have an edge versus Denver in the matchup situation. And if we go down the Eastern Conference list of coaches, you're going to have Eric Spoelstra 1. Who are you having 2? Joe Mazzulla? No thanks. I'll take Nick Nurse. I think the Sixers are live to win the Eastern Conference and win the NBA title.
Wow. I think
that's a
what
hot
were you going to say,
right
Jay? Yeah, it's a hot take. I mean, I think you make tremendous points from a value standpoint. I just don't see it. I just flat out do not see Embiid staying healthy, to Jay's point. Let's move on. Something else of note around the league. Malik Monk being out for the rest of the season. He was the favorite to win Sixth Man of the Year. Jay, do you think he's done enough to still take it home?
Yeah, I think he has, but unfortunately, it's all about recency bias. And Naz Reid will obviously get to play these last games, even though it's a little unfair. Like, he's going to be starting. He's not coming off the bench there, so it's definitely a little unfair there. But Malik Monk was like minus 4,000, and then obviously once he got hurt, it went down to minus 130. So you just got to hope that if you do have a Malik Monk ticket in your pocket, you have to hope that Naz Reid doesn't continue to go for 25 points like he did last night. So I do think Malik Monk is more deserving, and something I figured out with a lot of these awards, it's almost like a 2-year in one type of thing. A lot of times people don't really just come out of the blue winning these. You have to build that resume for the previous year and then really get over the hump the next year. And that's something I don't think that Naz Reid's done. So he's a great player. He should probably win it next year. But this year, even though Monk is out for the rest of the season, rest of the regular season, I still think that it's his award to lose.
I think it's close. I think it's gonna be really close. I think Naz deserves it, but I'm always somebody who just doesn't subscribe to the whole, do you score a lot of points off the bench? Like, I want guys to help you win games. Naz Reid helps you win games. That's why the Wolves are where they're at. It's not the only reason, but he's been a huge part of that. He's filled in for Karl-Anthony Towns. He is, if you watch these games, you're going to walk away being like, man, that game turned when Naz Reid came into this game. Malik's helped the Kings win a lot of games too. He's been fantastic. I think it's going to be really tough because I do think there will be folks that will say, look, Malik was who I would vote for until the last 10% of the season. I don't want to change that now. Recency bias, Jay's right, is very real. And I do think that Naz had more support maybe than the market reflected before that. This market has been so messy this season, Maria. I honestly think this could come down to second place votes. And so I think this one could really wind up being razor thin, which is why we've seen this market move. I don't think you need to be betting it now. You definitely don't need to be betting Monk at minus 130. This should honestly be probably way closer to just plus 100 on both. They're never going to price it like that for hold, but I do think that that's maybe where it is. I think this is a coin flip between the two. I personally would have Naz Reid as my sixth man of the year.
Fair enough. Reid and the T-Wolves still chasing that 1 seed in the West, a half game back of Denver. How about best bets for tonight? Jay Money, who you got?
Going with Pelicans in the first half, -2. I do think they come out here early and often, very pissed off, coming off a loss. This is their 5th straight home game as well. They're in a bounce back J spot as well. They gave up 37 points to Devin Booker in the first half, gave up 52 points for the whole game. They were down 46-28 after the end of the first quarter. Everything coming out of the locker room is that we have to start games better. We can't continue to get behind the 8 ball, and the numbers back it up as well. This team is 6-1 straight up and against the spread this season in the first half at home when coming off of a home loss. It was 6-0 before that Suns game as well, man. So like I say, 5th straight home game for the Pelicans. They are the 3rd best team in the NBA in the first half. They covering the spread. It's sitting at 22-12-2 against the spread. And this is also the Magic's first game on the road after 8 straight home games. They've been all comfy, sleeping in their own beds. I think the Pelicans are finna fly on these boys tonight, man. Fly, Pelly, fly.
You took mine. I'm on NBA BetStream tonight with Maria Marino for Pels Magic, and I was so excited to get in on Pels first half, and you took it from me. You swooped in like a carnivorous pelican and snatched it out of my hands. How rude. I will take Pacers -7.5 for best bet tonight. The Nets have given up on basketball life. They have to beat a team twice in a week, which is typically hard. This is not a basketball team. This is a broken shell of an organization. Usually tanking decisions late in the year are made by front offices and coaches looking to improve draft stock. The Nets don't have their pick. The Nets players are just going that hard for Cancun. This isn't like 1, 2, 3 Cancun. It's like 1 Cancun. They're not even doing the 2. That's too much for them to get to. So I'll take the Pacers. They've been playing better. Tyrese Halliburton had a really strong game last night versus the same Pacers team. That's really promising. I'm hoping he can get healthy because I want to bet the Pacers as an underdog in a first-round playoff series. I think this is a good spot for them, even with them having to be a team twice and this time on the road. I'll lay the wood with the Pacers -7.5 since my Pels pick was so rudely taken from me.
Well, the Nets may have given up on basketball life, but you two give me life. Matt Moore and Jay Money, you guys are the best. Thanks for joining the show.
Let's cash.
Anytime, Maria.
If you've ever wanted to try the best version of the Action app, that time is now because we're running a special offer on Action Pro to celebrate the NCAA tournament. You can try Pro Access for just $9.99 for the first month. With Action Pro, you get our biggest betting model edges, real-time money percentages, data-driven systems, NCAA tournament player prop projections from the predictive analytics team of Sean Kerner and Nick Giffen, and a whole lot more. Just visit actionnetwork.com/madness to take advantage before this deal expires. That's actionnetwork.com/madness. Our women's hoops expert, Dano Mataya, joins us now. We have an epic Final Four to look forward to Friday, and we'll get a pick from you for that. But first, you have a pick for tonight's NIT semifinals.
Absolutely. I'm going to go with Minnesota and Troy over 155.5. I think it opened around 152.5. So it's already been bet up a little bit. I think I would take this up to 159.5. Should end right around 160. Troy plays the fastest pace of the country, literally number one in possessions per 40 minutes. Minnesota has enough shooters to make this game really interesting, and hang on tight for the status of Mar Braun. I know she left last games or 2 games ago with a re-aggravation of her foot injury, but apparently it's not long term. She did not play against Wyoming. She's one of the best scorers in the country. If she is playing, I would look at taking Minnesota -1.5 tonight.
Good to know. WBIT championship game on tonight as well with Illinois and Villanova. But let's talk Final Four, which is what we really want to talk about. More and more prop markets are emerging. What's one you like for Friday?
I love Paige Becker's over 4.5 assists. This player, this girl, this woman is going to do whatever it takes. And you're getting 40 minutes of her because who is coming in for Paige Beckers? She's smart. She doesn't foul. We're going to get a show from her. I hope at some point we get a triple-double prop. She's never gotten one, but she's come close a lot. And to me, I feel like a lot of UConn overs should be the way to play just based on, minutes distribution. Like we see a lot of players go out in the final, or a lot of UConn players go out in the final few minutes of the regular season, so their averages can dip a little bit. But we've seen these last few games how many free throws people are taking. I feel like page overs are always going to be a good play for at least the next 2 games. But I love over 4.5 assists. Over this, at least 6 in 3 of the 4 games. The Duke game, I don't think was a good display of offensive basketball at all. So I throw that one out the window. Iowa's defense is nothing compared to Duke. So I would play this up to, honestly, 5.5. Maybe
I'm
6.
with you. I love this too. I think a lot of people don't realize that Paige Beckers and Caitlin Clark are similar in the sense that they both are scorers and both are facilitators. It's just going to be so good. And we have all kinds of other picks and leans on the Final Four, which we broke down on BBOC. So check out that podcast out now, and you'll be back on this show Friday. Dano, safe travels to Cleveland.
Thank you.
And just a reminder to North Carolina residents, sports betting is now live, and there are some awesome registration offers out there. So make sure to check out the link in the description or go to actionnetwork.com for specific offer codes. To baseball, Mookie Betts is off to a crazy hot start with the Dodgers. He's the second player in MLB history behind only Ken Griffey Jr. to record 11 plus RBIs and 14 plus runs, including 5 homers in the first 8 games of a season. He's also already leapfrogged Ronald Acuna Jr. as the favorite at plus 450 to win MVP in the NL. With that, we bring in our MLB expert, Sean Zerillo. So as a bettor, how do you sort of absorb what Mookie Betts is doing and apply it?
Yeah, it's difficult to bet him at this point. He's deserving to be the favorite. He's built up a lead in wins above replacement, and that is typically the stat that correlates most directly to MVP winners. But he has doubled up everybody else already in terms of wins above replacement. 1.4. The next closest player is Anthony Volpe at 0.7. And the positional adjustment that Mookie is going to get from playing shortstop this season, just by nature of the position he's playing, is going to bump up that WAR total. So he's built up a lead, but it's only going to continue to grow if he's playing that position. And if he's playing it well, he's only behind Bobby Witt Jr. in terms of defensive runs saved this season. So playing a great shortstop, too, is only going to inflate that total. I'd say Mookie's not only the deserving MVP favorite, but those odds may continue to tick down. I have a difficult time justifying 4-1, considering one injury, 2 weeks on the shelf could really end up closing that gap. But yeah, Mookie, absolutely the deserving favorite at this point, and glad he's finally getting the recognition he deserves. One of the best athletes in baseball. The adaptability to learn different positions on the fly is just astounding. If I was to build an athlete from scratch in baseball, I'd probably want Ellie De La Cruz just in terms of the power and the speed combination. But Mookie's intelligence and his ability to learn different positions and do everything on the baseball field, just absolutely mind-blowing, and glad he's finally getting the attention for it.
Great point. And he was second in MVP voting to Acuna last year. Just about a week into this season, any early betting trends that we should be mindful of?
Well, overs have been cashing at a pretty ridiculous clip. Unders finally had their day yesterday, but so far still 61% to the over, and more so happening later in the games, about 53% over the first 5 innings. But I said over 60% in the full games, and a lot of it comes down to bullpens just underperforming, strikeout minus walk rate, and in particular strain rate for relievers at their lowest marks since the year 2000. So is early in the season, right? Only a week and a half, week of games thus far, but keep an eye on those key performance indicators for relievers as the season continues to go on. They did change the rule this year with regards to pitching clock with runners on base, reducing it from 20 seconds to 18 seconds. And the reason why baseball games got so long and they implemented these rules is because pitchers were taking 30 or 40 seconds between pitchers, because I don't know the biomechanical science of it to the direct terms, but from what I understand, it takes your body about 30 seconds to reload and get back to that max effort between pitches. So reducing that clock even further with runners on base is just going to gas out these pitchers further and not allow them to have their best stuff in these longer bats. And I think for that reason, relief pitching is potentially declining. So keep an eye on those performance indicators, but thus far, bullpens mostly just blowing leads late.
Well, looking at today's slate, a lot of daytime games, but what are you betting tonight?
Still have the Cubs under left on my card, and I like this a little bit pregame. I projected this total closer to 6.5. On a weather-neutral day at Wrigley, I'd have this total closer to 9.1, but really extreme weather in Chicago tonight. Extreme weather blowing in 2 days ago. Pretty neutral last night. That total flew over, but I like the under tonight. 17-mile-an-hour winds blowing in from left field. Going to be cold, rainy, and snowy mix, so pretty miserable weather to sit in as a fan. Pretty miserable weather to play in as a player. I think there could be runs in bunches, though, depending on pitcher usage tonight. The Cubs going to go with the bullpen game, so could just have one arm come in and completely implode, and don't really love backing an under with Cal Quantrill on the mound for the Rockies. Going to be targeting more on a live under as this game gets in progress. If there's, say, an error, a sloppy error that scores multiple runs due to the wind and weather, definitely going to look to play a live under after that. Or just a pitcher comes in, doesn't have their command, gives up a walk with the bases loaded, something like that. Runs that aren't correlated to normal hits or normal offense. I also think it's very unlikely that somebody hits a home run tonight. So books were able to bet the game not to have a home run, if you can get a good price, I think might be worth a solid look as well. But the under 7 pregame to about -108, I'm going to be targeting a live and play under as well.
All right. Well, the Cubs posted 12 runs last night, looking for the sweep of the Rockies and their 4th straight win. Sean, thank you.
Thank you for having me.
Remember, any picks we give out here on the show, you can easily reference by following Green Dot Daily in the Action app. We keep track so you don't have to. That's going to do it for this episode of Green Dot Daily. I'm Maria Marino. Thanks so much for watching, and see you again tomorrow at 3 Eastern on the Action app and YouTube channel.